Aloha kako. My name is CARRIE and SHIGOTA. I'm the Policy Director for the ACLU of Hawai. I was born and raised in the country of the island of Maui, and I still consider Maui home, even though I'm living in the city currently. In terms of ACLU of Hawaii, we are an affiliate of the National ACLU. Our mission is to protect, advance all of our collective civil rights and liberties. And sometimes lawmakers have asked me, why is the ACLU interested in cannabis legalization? For me, it seems really apparent, but it's not always clear. And so I just want to say for the record that ACLU of Hawaii supports cannabis legalization for a few reasons. First, because this is a civil liberty issue. Just as individuals should be able to have the right to choose whether they have an abortion, reproductive autonomy, whether they choose to have children or not, to access the abortion pill, they should be able to choose to have a cocktail or cannabis. It's very clear to us that that is a personal liberty interest. Second reason why we're also pushing for this particular bill and advocating for it is that we recognize there are privacy interests at stake. Unlike other states, we have a provision in our Hawaii Constitution that explicitly protects the right to privacy. What people are doing within their home, why is there government intrusion and interference in that? The third reason is that we know that prohibition and the war on drugs has disparately impacted Black communities, Latino, people of color, Indigenous communities, and here in Hawaii, Native Hawaiians. Not only adults, but also youth. And I'm sure that Nikos will share some of the statistics to show that there are still youth and adults being arrested for cannabis, despite some of the rhetoric that people are not being arrested for it. And so the fourth reason that we're interested is that we understand that the war on drugs has real consequences that have been harmful to people. Once someone has a record, whether it's arrests or convictions, that stays with them. It can be a barrier for jobs, housing, other life opportunities. So we are very invested in a bill that ensures that there is social equity to address harms and that we have a process of expungement of these records so that people can move forward. And probably later on we can share a little bit about a personal reason why I also support cannabis legalization. Mahalo.
Thank you, panelists. So our first question, relatively simple and easy, and feel free to answer as personal opinion or your organization. And what would you say when you're looking at cannabis compared to alcohol and cigarettes? Is cannabis safer, worse, similar to, or no opinion? Nikos?
Aloha, thank you for asking that question. This really strikes at the heart of how I first came to be involved in this. When I was in junior high, I read a magazine called Liberty, and there was an outfit called Drug Sense, and it took a look, did a comparative look at alcohol, heroin, tobacco, and cannabis, both in terms of addiction potential, in terms of physiological effects, and in terms of withdrawal symptoms, and in terms of, just negative consequences from the law. And on all of the science side, compared to tobacco and alcohol, tobacco still kills about 400,000 people a year in this country. Alcohol kills about, give or take, 35 to 50,000 people a year. There are negative consequences to cannabis, but they are exceedingly rare. There are some people who deal with hyperemesis syndrome. That often comes with consuming too much over a protracted period of time. But in terms of just your ordinary user, your casual user, habitual use, everyday use, weekly use, weekender use, generally speaking, cannabis does not give you even the type of hangover it does, that alcohol does. And it certainly doesn't, it's proven not to have the negative social consequences, immediate social consequences, in terms of violence, intimate partner violence, familial violence, violence that one can see probably at bars and some of the bars that I used to frequent when I was a fraternity member, in Los Angeles and thereabouts. Alcohol does a lot of damage in this country and everywhere. And to the extent that people can move from alcohol toward cannabis, as has been the case in Canada and even some jurisdictions over time, over years, there has been a decrease in alcohol consumption. So it's a benefit for an individual who's looking for a relatively mild intoxicant that is more sedative than upregulated, and it can be used in a responsible fashion. Cannabis use disorder, there will be